Hello, hello, and welcome back to Shatter Our Souls with Novaria. Now, as promised today, we are going to be taking a trip down memory lane and heading back to where this all began. Now, for those who know, for those who don't, I am referring, of course, to the frigate Orpheon, which acts as both the beginning of the game and the beginning of the end. Effectively, it is from this point onward that the game takes the gloves off and really shows what the Space Pirates and what the storyline of the game has been building towards. So, barring a couple of I'm not being smart today, um, I think that this will be a pretty straightforward day. And admittedly, probably a bit more on the combat heavy side. I hope. Where is the... Am I just blind? I wouldn't put it past myself for that, but beside the point there... oh jeez. The coral. The coral is showing me where the hole is. Oofty. I hope that's not a sign of things to come today. So, because this first part is probably going to be a little bit on the slower side, I was looking into what makes megafauna. Now, the reason behind that is because of a conversation I had today about how chickens are effectively just evolved dinosaurs. And what I realized is that Metroid Prime has a surprising number of gigantism, or surprising amount of gigantism, which has to do partially with phase-on mutation. But there are also a number of species that are under the categorization or classification of megafauna. The classification itself is pretty straightforward, actually. Megafauna is anything that is over 45 kilograms, or roughly 100 pounds. So that would include, in our world, humans, some breeds of dogs, sharks, whales, rhinos, elephants, all fit the bill of a megafauna. And when digging into this, it made me realize that the space pirates would all classify as megafauna, but the elites would classify as or under the terminology of gigantism, which again is due to mutation. What I find interesting about that is that as a result of this gigantism, as a result of these issues that crop up early on, most of the species on Talon 4 are some form of megafauna, such as the Sheegoth or the Magnors, but also that we have megaflora in the form of flagra and massive plants, massive creatures in general. So it made me realize that the gigantism technically has the gigantism created by the phase-on mutations greatly impacts the classification of the creatures in and around this area. Anyways, that's my little tidbit for the science lovers out there. So, at the moment, we're kind of retracing old steps here. We came in from the upper area of the reactor where we fought the Parasite Queen in the first episode, and are now following the original path that we took to get to the Parasite Queen backwards, so as to exit effectively the way we arrived, at least based on my understanding of it. And where we arrived is now leading directly into the Phazon mines, if my memory of the circumstance is accurate. So that's something to look forward to, I guess. Now, last time I kind of alluded to some conversation around if Samus would ever take an apprentice. And after kind of mulling it over for the last week, I've kind of come to two conclusions. Number one, she would be the type to take on an apprentice, but she wouldn't do so willingly, if that makes sense. It wouldn't be her first and foremost plan to bring another individual into the world of being a bounty hunter, especially given how dangerous most of her missions are. However, on the off chance that she were to come across a civilian in need of help, but no way to get out of the situation herself, I can see her, intentionally or not, training an apprentice for a brief time. Now, it has to be specified that it would be a result of circumstance, because, as I've stated, Samus isn't the type to want to bring somebody else into this world. She's dealt with it enough. She knows what she's up against. That doesn't necessarily mean that just anyone would be able to handle what she deals with on a daily basis. Likely it would be a circumstance of taking a civilian into the fold briefly and perhaps providing some form of power suit or Federation tech in order to provide the hope that this person would get out of the situation they're in unharmed. This would likely lead to a circumstance where Samus would get herself into a situation she could not easily get herself out of, and said civilians stepping up, showing that this person has the potential to be a bounty hunter similar to Samus. Under any other circumstance, I do not believe Samus would take on a apprentice, because I don't think that suits Samus's motives as a character. She is very a lone wolf style character. Does not take joint missions commonly. It still, has it in her to be kind and help other people out as best she can, but wouldn't willingly put a human in harm's way if at all possible. And I just want to give a shout out to my little brother, because it was him and I who had the discussion around this topic last time that really solidified the thoughts around that topic. And yeah. So at the moment, this room here was the original, I believe it was a gestation room for the mutated parasites or parasite queens. And we are now, I believe, ascending through the engine bay of the frigate Orpheon. Hopefully... Oh. Okay. Kablooey. Hopefully to exit this particular stage of the location in good time. Alrighty. So, I'm gonna admit, there are two major issues that I've been cropping up with lately with Hypermode. Hypermode, I was under the impression was going to be incredibly difficult, that it was going to break me. It was going to, for lack of better terminology, shatter my soul. And to this point, while it has been difficult in places, especially where the space pirates have been concerned, it hasn't really challenged me to the degree that I had assumed it would. And I'm hoping that's not foreshadowing, but we are officially heading into the hardest area of the game by a mile. The Phazon Mines. Now, the Phazon Mines has a number of major issues that need to be addressed. First and foremost is the blue stuff, the Phazon itself. Phazon is highly radioactive and deals damage to Samus through the suit, guaranteed, at least for now. So we have to avoid blue Phazon at all times. We have to avoid security drones. We have to avoid space pirates. We have to dismantle the entire operation as thoroughly as possible, right from the word go. The result of that is going to be very hit or miss, shall we say. If this goes the way I hope it does, then I'll have nothing to worry about. If it doesn't, it's a little bit of a sign of things to come. Now, I would love to say that I have the confidence that I'm not going to have any issues going through here, but truth be told, this area is not the final main area of the game, excluding the final boss, of course, for no reason. Anyways, we're just gonna shut down the security system, which includes hitting their little security drones, as well as scanning a couple of their, I suppose it'd be like locks or keys for their doors. Kind of makes little sense in my world, but, you know, you do you. Or they do them. Eh. Anywho, the space pirates themselves are dealing with several advancements in their technology here. The first is that the standard space pirates are not necessarily the ones you're going to come across anymore, at least not in this area. They have advanced their technology so that they are able to be invisible and attack without the enemy noticing. Or go, me. And they have a new capability which mimics many of the abilities of the power suit, or is a reverse engineering of the power suit, that is invulnerable to many of Samus's utilities. However, each version of the new space pirate tech is vulnerable to one of Samus's weapons. White is weak to Ice Beam, purple weak to Wave Beam, yellow weak to the Power Beam, and red weak to Plasma. Now, I both love and hate this color coding ideology. To me, it is a very gamey situation, in that you as a player are able to discern, oh, this weapon works with this weapon, and so on and so forth, because it's color coded the same way the doors are. And I get that it is simply a idea of, this is how we show this information to the player as you go on. It still doesn't quite hit the way it possibly should, in that, at least for me, it felt very hollow. Okay, cool, I have an enemy that is invulnerable to certain aspects of my kit, play the game a little bit more, figure out what works, what doesn't, and all of a sudden, they're the same as virtually any other enemy, with the exclusion that the white and purple variants are weak to weapons that can also stun them, effectively making two of their four new varieties of weapon all but useless, at least comparatively to Samus. I'm not. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on it here. We're just pare down a little bit more of their security system here. Does it take Icewell? I keep forgetting exactly how tough that all of their security systems are. And I will, if I have to go through this section again, I will definitely be treating their security with a little bit more, what would we call it? A little more forcefully? Using everything I have at my command instead of half of what I do? As stated, we have the invisible guys, which is, just regular, except they're, I can only see them when I have thermal vision on. So that's nice, I guess. And second floor. I thought there was a security system here. Yeah, whatever. So, as stated, we are now getting into the reverse engineered pirates. And I admit, these guys are some of the more wonky. Luckily, we are dealing with the purple ones to start with. But holy mola, do they hit hard. I'm down 300 health already? I don't remember them hitting half that hard. Okay, can I hit the guy in front of me instead of my shots going through his legs? That'd be nice. Perfect. One left. I'm noticing that I'm lacking a little bit of health here. And that the game doesn't really tend to give health pickups very frequently as a general rule right now. So this next section may just be a marathon or a sprint to the finish, whichever you'd prefer to look at it as. If I recall... Ah, there he is. Thought he got closer than that. Oh well. Every sneaky trick in the book that I can get my hands on is going to be incredibly useful for this section. Come on, open up the door. This room houses one of the major artifacts directly underneath our friend, the, I'm not even sure if you'd call him like an elite. He is a special form of elite pirate that forgoes the cannon on its shoulder for more radiation, which honestly is possibly one of the most dangerous trade-offs I've ever heard of. So we're just gonna fight these guys back. I don't see these next couple of enemies holding too much weight. Where... What the... He's... Oh gosh. Okay, so one hit does 20 health, give or take. If I get hit by a barrage, we're looking anywhere between 20 and 100 HP. Like that. That's not healthy. First round of security, or like fourth round of security down. You know, it came up recently that Super Metroid was the result of Metroid 2. And I'm not referring to it as a full-on Of course it was. The Super Metroid was the baby found in 2. I'm talking about how Super Metroid led to the space pirate invasion to try to capture the last remaining Metroid that started off Metroid 2. Now, we know that the Federation uses a series of biological supercomputers as their primary network, so to speak. And, oh, that's a really bad idea. Why did I do that? Sorry. They use a series of biological supercomputers to be able to show off and put forth their ideology and communicate between one another. The thing is that the mother brain in the original Metroid was not brought with the pirates. Quite the opposite, it was there when the space pirates arrived on Zebes. The theory goes that Mother Brain knew what was going on and knew the exact purpose of the Metroids. And so, knowing that with the eradication of the Metroids would come a outbreak of the X-Parasite, it opted to give the location of the final Metroid, or the last one standing, so that the space pirates would end up trying to capture and regain control of Metroids. Effectively, the raid of the research station above Zebes was the result, or the raid of the research station was the result of Mother Brain's intervention to try to bring back Metroids to prevent the X from breaking out. I kind of like this and kind of dislike this theory that I came across, because if I'm being honest, the theory itself holds up. But the thing is that no other, the X-Parasite isn't in any of the Federation's logs. They struggle to figure out what the heck was going on. So, if the Federation doesn't know what's going on and they're not and their supercomputers, their Aurora units, were unable to identify what was going on in Metroid Fusion in the introduction, then it stands to reason that either Mother Brain was disconnected from that network, or that the Federation didn't have the information, or the information was not available to Mother Brain. That's the last look we will get of the crater before the finale. That was not smart. I'll hit the last of these from a bit distance. Given how many super missiles I've been using, I think it's pretty safe to say that every little bit's gonna count right now. Missile expansion, la-di-di-da. Okay. We get to face off against our first of the elite pirates. Now, the elite pirates are their first major round of phase-on testing on space pirates. Their more lizard-like appearance, reflecting the space pirates of on Talon 4 more directly than the bug-like ones of later games. Now, my strategy for fighting these guys is to wait, or to pelt their head with non-explosive beam weapons at close range, until it puts up the barrier that attracts all energy. Once that barrier is active, I find it best to either attempt to take down the launcher on its back, or to provoke an attack of opportunity, in which they're going to slam the ground and a super missile to the face. I don't exactly think it's the nicest thing I could do, but I don't think niceties really matter in the grand scheme of things right now. What matters is survival, and I'm running on thin ice right now. Being at less than half capacity, going in... Unfortunately, I really can't... I'm at a stage where going back is not going to be helpful. Oh, geez. Ah. Okay. 100... So we got, what, 3? $160... 138. This is not good. It'll be fine. We'll be able to defeat the last couple of these, and we'll get some more health. It'll be fine. As stated, these guys struggle when it comes to facing off against an opponent that can handle their own. As... Weren't there 3 of them? Yeah. Weird. Well, given the circumstances, let's just double check that I can't get a save point back here. I'm pretty sure it's a power bomb door. So, my only option at this moment is either forward or backward. Backward would mean that I make no progress into this area since the save point back at the very beginning of the mines. Forward means I could die. Decisions. I'm gonna opt for forward because what's a little reward without a little risk, right? And if I'm being honest, it more so suits Samus as a character because I doubt she would turn around in a similar situation. However, I do think that this is gonna bite me later. And at this point, getting back is impossible. Because those guys are going to block the exit from here on out. And until I can get out using power bombs to break the ground, that's really all I can do. Under 100 damage. I've got one of these guys on the ropes. He is 79 health. Had one on the ropes. I should be able to hopefully defeat one more. 20 health. You know, these guys are actually pretty oblivious right now. Missiles, not health. Okay. Well, I gotta do what I gotta do. Chances of them being able to defeat me as I am is slim, I hope. 25 health. More missiles! Hooray! Okay, I just gotta make it across this gap, and